It would be fair to ask, if a show is considered a flop and nobody's ever even heard of it, how can there be a bunch of in-jokes and references surrounding it? Hello there. Tough guy film expert Mike Malloy here. Now, in a previous video, I looked at a 1950s radio and TV detective that shares my name, Mike Malloy, from Mike Malloy Private Eye. I promised I would follow up with a video about another tough Mike Malloy, the true-life Bronx man who survived multiple murder attempts in the 1930s. And I'll do something about him one day, I promise. But I gotta tell ya, since that first video, I've developed a preoccupation with Mike Malloy Private Eye. Now, is it a healthy preoccupation? Well, watch this video and you tell me. So, I'm gonna stay on that subject for the time being. And through the resourceful digging of my co-producer Richard Bowling, I've now heard uncirculated episodes of the radio show.
What's your name? I don't think we've met.
Sally's good enough and we've met.
Where?
In a lineup downtown a few years ago.
I meet some of my best friends in lineups. What were you pinched for?
And I've now read script pages from certain institutional archives. I've interviewed Anthony Moore, son of Mike Malloy actor Gerald Moore, and I've corresponded with Kevin Brody, son of the other Mike Malloy actor, Steve Brody. And what strikes me is that for a show that was not considered a success, the creators sure did center a lot of in-jokes and references around it, acting as if it was the most important project of their careers. Furthermore, there were some crazy coincidences that arose from the Mike Malloy series. So let's look at all this, see what we can decode. Time now to talk about Steve Brody and Raymond Burr. Now, the first actor to play Mike Malloy was Steve Brody, who was primarily a character actor. But occasionally he played leads, like Mike Malloy in the 50s, and like his character in a 1947 film noir called Desperate. Yeah, Brody was the hero of Desperate, and the villain of that movie was played by future Perry Mason superstar Raymond Burr. Desperate was a big deal for Brody, as it was considered his first big break after years of supporting roles. And 6 years later, Mike Malloy was clearly considered another big deal for Brody, as it was a multimedia launch of a character, with both a radio show and a TV pilot. This article here even mentions a Mike Malloy feature film, but I think it was probably just getting mixed up with the TV pilot. In any case, Brody and/or the writers must have realized that Mike Malloy was Brody's second big career break because, well, what did they name the villain of the TV pilot?
He works for a man named Raddick.
Raddick.
Yeah, they named him Raddick, same as Raymond Burr's villain character in Desperate.
Please, Mr. Raddick, I couldn't help myself.
Yes, I know. But this presents an added complication.
What complication?
Mike Malloy.
That villain, Raddick, was played in the Mike Malloy pilot by an actor named Bert Topper. And I made a clip of Bert's big Mike Malloy dialogue scene, and I sent that clip to his widow, Jennifer Topper, who had never seen it before. Her reaction? That's not Bert's regular speaking voice, she said. She said Bert was affecting some sort of accent or dialect there. So I went back and watched the scene again. Yeah, I guess Bert Topper is speaking with a sort of sophisticated, almost snooty, mid-Atlantic... Wait, is Bert doing a Raymond Burr impersonation?
Yes, that's possible.
Huh.
Well, if William
So not only the character named Raddick, but a full-on Burr impersonation for the villain? If so, this is quite the in-joke.
Overshadow your common sense. Deal with Malloy alone. Do you understand? Alone, Orville.
And it didn't stop there. At least one episode of the radio show had Raddick as a character, too. But after one unsold TV pilot and after 2 single-year attempts on radio, one starting in 1953 and a reboot starting in 1956, Mike Malloy Private Eye failed to go any further. But the next year, 1958, Raymond Burr appeared as the big guest star on an episode of the radio anthology series Suspense.
Starring Mr. Raymond Burr, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
He plays a newly released ex-convict who has it out for a cop. And what's the name of his adversary? Mike Malloy.
Did you check up on Malloy like I asked you to?
Huh. Are these two guys throwing nods of respect to each other, encoding them as Easter eggs and sending them out through the airwaves? I asked Kevin Brody, Steve's son and an actor himself, I asked Kevin what he knew of the Brody-Burr relationship. Were they close friends? Or just two actors who ended up working a lot together? He said, I know they stayed friends and that my dad worked with Burr on his Perry Mason series, but honestly, we never really talked much about their relationship. Yeah, Brody guest starred on 3 Perry Mason episodes. All in all, counting those 3 episodes, Brody and Burr co-starred 7 times. But based on what Kevin told me, it doesn't sound like the kind of friendship where Raymond Burr was coming over to the house, hanging out with the family, or anything like that. So until I learn otherwise, I'm figuring this was a case of 2 actors throwing in-jokes to each other across the entertainment industry.
Time now to talk about Tom Hubbard and Barney Barnett.
Another series of in-joke references centers around the character Barney Barnett. Barnett is a detective on the police force. See, our private investigator hero Mike Malloy is a former cop, and he remained friendly with one of the detectives on his old force, Barney Barnett.
Barnett?
Hello, Barney.
Hey, Mike, where in the devil did you go?
I'm over at Joni St. Mark's. The case is all wrapped up.
Well, did you get Klinger?
Yeah, you can cancel a want.
What about Klinger?
And send an ambulance over here.
For Klinger?
No, for me, I got a slug in my shoulder.
Yeah, but what about Klinger?
Strictly in the line of duty, Barney.
Mike, I said, what about Klinger?
Send a morgue truck, too, will you?
Barnett was played by a guy named Tom Hubbard, who was also the co-creator of Mike Malloy, and who also wrote for the series.
Mike Malloy stars Gerald Moore and is created and edited for radio by Tom Hubbard and Fred Eggers. Featured in the cast were Tom Hubbard.
Tom did character voice work on both this and the other radio show he helped to create, Captain Star of Space. By the way, Star of Space was even shorter-lived and less promoted than Mike Malloy, but somehow it's better remembered than Malloy. Probably because it was a kiddie show, and boomer kiddies grew up big on their nostalgia. Tom played a lot of characters on screen, too. He was a little on the husky side, so he didn't play leads, but he played a lot of deputies and cop sidekicks. And that's kind of the part he played on the Mike Malloy radio series, too. Not formally, officially Mike's sidekick, but he served that basic narrative function.
Looks like I got here just in time, Mike. 4-1.
Yeah. Those 4 gorillas would have made mincemeat out of me, given a little more time.
Feel better? From the looks of you, they did all right with the time they had.
Point is, Tom Hubbard played Barney Barnett on the Mike Malloy radio series, playing opposite both of the show's 2 lead actors. Then he went on with his film career, mainly acting in projects that he helped write, too. So let's take a look at some of those later film roles. Well, he acted in a film called Highway Dragnet, wrote a little on it, too, and he played a cop named Barnett. And in a Western he wrote called Thunder Pass, Tom played another character who is credited online as Barnett. And I watched Hubbard's scenes in the film, and his first name is indeed Barney. And then, when Hubbard played a role in a movie he wrote called Legion of Doom, he named his character Tom Brody. So his first name, and the last name of Mike Malloy's star Steve Brody. Oh, and also, when star Steve Brody next acted in something that Tom Hubbard wrote, a 1959 film called Arson for Hire, who should play his arson investigating partner? Why, Tom Hubbard. So it was Malloy and Barnett back together again. even if not by name. So just to recap, after playing Barney Barnett on Mike Malloy, Tom Hubbard played a bunch of roles that seemed to reference his radio character, pointing back to it. This feels like Tom was treating his character on Mike Malloy as like his career-defining role, and he wanted to keep paying homage to it. Keep in mind that Tom's co-writer on almost all projects was Fred Eggers, his Mike Malloy co-creator. But here's the weird thing. When Steve Brody departed the radio series, and before Gerald Moore stepped in as the Mike Malloy replacement, there was a gap of 2 episodes. In one of those 2 interim stories, Detective Barnett takes the lead. Barney is the star. He's front and center. But, and here's the weird part, I'm not sure Tom Hubbard plays Barney in that one. I haven't heard that episode and I haven't seen the script, but the best online information says that an actor named John Daner stepped in and played Barney that time. Also, when they made the Mike Malloy pilot, Tom didn't play a role. There's no Barney Barnett in it. The main cop character in the plot, Lieutenant Bergstrom, was played by Ken Christie, an actor who had already complained to the press that he played too many cops during his film career. And Tom Hubbard didn't co-write the pilot either. Fred Eggers scripted solo. Not sure why Tom wasn't involved in the pilot, but I think his presence was felt anyway. The director of photography for the pilot was an Oscar nominee named Virgil Miller, whom American Cinematographer magazine called the Master of Mystery Lighting. Not entirely sure how Mr. Miller got involved in shooting the Mike Malloy pilot, but I see he also shot a film called Murder Without Tears around the same time, and it had Mr. Hubbard in the cast. So it's my guess that Tom brought him onto the Malloy pilot. Anyway, I've made contact with one of Tom's daughters, and she and I hope to do an interview soon, and maybe I can learn more about his motivations. But despite Tom Hubbard's non-appearance as Barney during some key moments in the series, the character clearly meant a lot to him, hence all the in-jokes he kept writing in his later character names.
Time now to talk about Wyatt Earp and Mike Malloy.
Okay. Well, I'm Tony Moore, legally Anthony Moore, although my friends call me Tony. And my connection to the Mike Malloy subject is my father, Gerald Moore, was a radio actor and then later TV movie actor. And he played Mike Malloy in a number of episodes on the radio. So that's my connection. There was a literary agent named Doris Halsey. We were sitting one time and she said, you know, your father turned down the lead in Wyatt Earp. You know, he wanted to work in Europe and he was offered the lead here and he said, enough Westerns, I don't want to do it. I want to be in Europe. I want to be the international man of mystery, you know, playing in the a Cold War hero or someone in the espionage network, whatever. And Hugh O'Brien got the part.
So here's what's interesting is that the first actor to play Mike Malloy was Steve Brody, and a few seasons in on Wyatt Earp, he became a supporting actor. So had your dad taken the role, both Mike Malloys would have been in a TV series together.
How interesting. How interesting. It just goes to show you. It really does.
I do think it was a smaller world back then. 8 billion people in the world.
It was a bad decision in retrospect, but again, he wanted to be happy, and you know, he wasn't that concerned about his career in terms of moving up in Westerns. He wanted to work in Europe, and he did, and he met a European woman and left my mother for her.
Time now to talk about Steve and Steve.
Mike Malloy stars Gerald Moore and is produced and directed by Al Ganaway for the Bill Brody Company. ABC supervisor Jack Worms. Mike Malloy Private Eye was produced by Bill Brody, more officially known as William F. Brody, who is probably best known for producing the Wild Bill Hickok TV series. Wild Bill Hickok was so successful that not only did it air from 1951 to 1958, but the show, which began as a syndicated series,
ended its run with deals to be on both CBS and ABC concurrently. Anyway, Brody produced all sorts of stuff: TV, features, radio, and he brought the Mike Malloy creative staff along for some of that. Tom Hubbard and Fred Eggers to write some projects, and Al Ganaway to direct. And a lot of these projects were released by the movie studio owned by Bill Broidy's brother, Steve, a movie studio called Allied Artists. And star Steve Brody got roped into this circle of collaborators too. And his late 50s starring vehicles like Arson for Hire and Spy in the Sky, they were released by Allied. And for the record, early 50s Steve Brody films like White Lightning and Army Bound were released at the tail end of Monogram Pictures, which was the previous incarnation of Allied Artists. So wait, from the early 50s to the late 50s, spanning a whole decade, a guy named Steve Brody was making films for a guy named Steve Brody? Maybe that doesn't seem like a big deal to others, but to me, that seems like the Matrix was glitching. One thing that wasn't a coincidence, more like plain old good casting, was the fact that both Mike Malloy and one of the actors portraying him were well known for being a hit with the ladies. Yeah, the Malloy character was constantly running into women during his investigations. Women he had a past with. Women who still think of him very fondly, whether attracted to the rough masculinity of Brody's Malloy or attracted to the smoothness of Gerald Moore's version.
Mike! Mike Malloy!
Yeah, Mike's the old Mike himself.
Oh, it's been a long time. Maybe too long.
Yeah, maybe it has.
Mike, it's been a long time between drinks.
I haven't been thirsty.
I have.
Hello, sweetie.
Oh, Mike. Oh, good old Mike. Always there in the past. When I yelled for you. And here now.
Yeah.
And that's why the casting of Gerald Moore was very appropriate.
Look, I mean, my father was catnip to women. He was absolutely, a chick magnet, as one would say these days. And the women just gravitated to him. And, it made me very nervous at times. I remember there was a teacher I had who I think liked my father and had a crush on him. She mentioned it a couple of times in class. There was one time we were in a sixth grade show, a little play, and it was kind of a cute little piece about the Junior Red Cross. And my father came to watch it, and a couple of girls saw him in the hallway, and they ran up to me and said, "Is that your father?" And they were screaming. They were just screaming, "He's so good looking," and all of this. And I got frightened. I mean, I didn't quite know how to react to this, because I was sort of the opposite. I was a shy kid. I didn't know how to make small talk. He did. I remember the day he told me, "Look, if you want to be a success with the girls, you've got to make small talk." He used lots of terms of endearment, like the word baby. "Yeah, that's right, baby." They were rough, weren't they, baby? Things like that.
Oh, Malloy.
Yeah, Malloy, baby. I got a few questions on my mind.
Now, as for this last thing, you tell me whether it's coincidence, destiny, glitch of the Matrix, cosmic in-joke, what. But decades after Mike Malloy Private Eye, a Mike Malloy would be born in New Orleans, that's me, and without knowing much about the same named Private Eye that came before him, he'd eventually do a little acting and star in a couple of film noir short films.
What do you want with me?
What I want with you, I want plenty with you. You're gonna help me get to Mexico.
Help you? I wouldn't help you across the street.
Oh, sure you will. I've made it this far, I'm gonna make it. What do you think, they're gonna catch me, put me back in San Quentin? Come on.
Come on, eyes front. Boss man can't help you now.
It's okay, Agent. Now, Miss Carter, we have reason to believe that you're using a fictional identity and that your real name is Samantha Blade.
This is a joke, and it's not funny.
Blade.
Don't make any sudden moves.
I did write a book, and the book involves my father and my stepfather. My parents divorced when I was 9, and my stepfather was about as opposite of my father as you could ask for. My dad was kind of a, he was a radio actor, TV actor, tried to get in the movies. He made a few B movies and was in a couple of well-known ones like Gilda and Funny Girl, but not in leading roles. And but he lived life large, and he was a ladies' man. I